Please note that the information on Retire Vivid referenced in this video is accurate as of May 5th, 2024. Changes to laws and regulations may make portions of this segment outdated and no longer relevant. Information presented is for educational purposes only and is not intended to provide investment, tax, or legal advice. Please see our full disclosure at the end of this video.
Welcome to Retire Vivid. I'm McCarty. That's Tommy Breitbach, and today's episode is a good one. This is retirement milestones, all the decisions that you have to make during your own retirement journey. And Tommy, this is a fun one today. It really is. Think about where people have worked all these years, and they get to this point, and there's all these decisions they have to make on these retirement milestones.
Yeah, I think everybody has that goal to retire.
Right? I hope so.
You're not sitting there saying, maybe you love what you're doing and you plan to work forever, but I think a lot of people have that idea of what retirement is going to be like. Is that travel? Is that grandkids? Is it just free time to do whatever they want? But there's a lot of planning involved, making sure you're on the right track and you're thinking of the correct decisions to get through just what you need to do into retirement.
Well, you brought up a good point. You may enjoy what you're doing, but also don't let your job be your identity, right? Or maybe it's the fear of the unknown of what tomorrow looks like, in terms of retirement. And again, that's why we're doing this show, to walk through all these different milestones. And so let's dive in. Are you ready to roll?
Let's go.
Let's go. Okay, the first one is at age 55. Tommy, let's dial in on this because this is the rule of 55.
And real quick, before the rule of 55, so if you are looking at accessing those, your retirement assets early, so prior to 59 and a half, there's typically a 10% early withdrawal penalty on those distributions. And what the rule of 55 allows is it allows you to access the 401k, 403b, TSP, wherever that is, from the employer you left at 55 or later. So it's not something, you retired at 52 and then at 55 you can start accessing that. And it's also not that 401k from 2-3 jobs ago that's sitting out there. It is the employer you most recently left at 55 or later. You can access those assets without that 10% early withdrawal penalty.
And I'm glad you said that because you have to your point, you have to be age 55. Age 55. But so many times, Tommy, we see it where unfortunately, maybe somebody got some bad advice. I don't know if that's the correct word to use here, but and they rolled their money, out of their plan to a traditional IRA. I mean, now that's out of the plan. So what options do they have to access those funds?
If there's a chance you're going to retire early, the recommendation would be to review your options under Rule of 55. For those that have taken that step and moved money into the IRA, it's a 72T or substantially equal periodic payments. And what that is, it allows you to access those assets in an IRA prior to 59 and a half, but it's far more restrictive. There's, kind of one way to do it right and a lot of ways to do it wrong.
Yeah, that's true.
And it is a requirement that you withdraw those assets for 5 years or until 59 and a half, whichever is longer. So if you're 53, you're looking at 6.5 years of those withdrawals. If you're 57, you have to go until 62 to meet that 5-year requirement.
Because again, we don't want to be penalized. I mean, we don't want to see people get hurt out there. And so, again, to your point, the 72T is a big deal. I mean, you got to do this correctly. You got to do this correctly, or to your point, there's a lot of ways to get it wrong.
Yeah, you get into the middle of one of those, and the payment doesn't go out correctly, or a different amount goes out, or you access that IRA for an amount on top of what you're under calculated payments. You can go back and have that 10% early withdrawal penalty assessed on everything you've taken up until that point. So it's very important to do, if you're going under that route, it's very important to do that correctly, and to make sure, I's are dotted, T's are crossed, everything's in line.
Everything's in line, okay, because again, once you attain age 59 and a half, the 10% penalty goes away, so we're off and running after that. What you still got to deal with taxes, though.
You still pay taxes, yep. So if you're looking at tax, you can't get out of taxes. So and what we've alluded to, I guess, is either the traditional IRA, pre-tax 401k, traditional 401k. So all that money, you took a tax deduction going in, it's grown for as long as it's been in there, and then comes out tax-free. With life expectancies today, you can look at a 25, 30, 35 year, retirement plan. So it's really important that, you sit down, have that plan together, and make sure you have good information.
That's why you need to have a plan. I mean, you and I talk quite a bit about the 6 things that you should be considering when it comes to people that are forced to retire early, or maybe they have the financial means to do it, Tommy, but the first one is we have to have a plan.
Yeah, it's really important to sit down and get the budget together, figure out what money's going to be coming in, what needs to go out, what large bills do we have. If you're planning ahead, can we pay off the house? Can we pay off a large other monthly bill that we have, kind of to clear some room in the budget.
Right, because retirement's not an asset problem. Retirement's an income problem, because we also want you to make sure you boost your savings. You boost your savings, then we need to take a look at Social Security. And again, we're going to talk about that in the next few milestones.
Yeah, it's really important, what your plan is to bridge kind of to Social Security. And then, the next one being health insurance. Are we bridging to Medicare? That can get expensive on the private market. So it's really important to have all those options covered.
Well, you know what, though? Health insurance really should be towards the top, because I'm not moving an inch until we have health insurance. And then, also tax smart strategies. And also, what are the sources of retirement income going to come from? So, okay, this is just the tip of the iceberg here. So we have a lot more to go through with you all as we move forward with retirement milestones. Stay with us right after the break.
Do you have questions about your retirement plan, or do you want to know if you are on the right track? We are here to help. Simply go to retirevivid.com or call the number below to schedule a 15-minute retirement review. You can speak with us about taxes, Social Security, your 401k, or any quick retirement questions at no cost to you. We are here to make retirement vivid. Schedule your 15-minute retirement review today.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, we are talking about retirement milestones, walking you through your retirement journey and all the important decisions you have to make. So we just talked about age 55. We talked about age 59 and a half. The next few milestones is going to be pretty heavy on Social Security, Tommy. So let's start with age 60.
Yeah, so the age 60, kind of, if they take one thing away, if they're eligible, a widow benefit at a widow or widower benefit at age 60. So that is, a spouse has passed away, or an ex-spouse has passed away. There's a lot of caveats in there, but an ex-spouse has passed away and you've not remarried, you are eligible for that widow or widower benefit at age 60.
I think that this is one of, unfortunately, the best kept secrets, because a lot of spouses, lost their loved one. A lot of them think they have to wait till age 62. That's not true. You can begin as early as age 60, but that leads into, Tommy, the earnings test. So we got to be careful of that.
Correct. So that is on the widower benefit at age 60. So most, workers' benefits, your range is from 62 to 70. And that is all based off of what your full retirement age is. Most people have a full retirement age between 66 and 67.
Yep.
That it goes up in a couple month increments in between there, but most people have that full retirement age benefit at 66 to 67. So at age 62, they are eligible for a reduced benefit.
Right.
Typically 70 to 75% or so of that full retirement age benefit.
It's an age-based reduction, right? Is what it is, to your point. So let's talk about this, okay? All right, so folks, if there's anything good that you're getting out of this right now, this is it. This is the earnings test. So let's just take a married couple in this example. And let's say that the husband is working because they need health insurance. And so, but the wife retires early in this example. So she took her benefit as early as age 62. She knows about the reduction, right? She took the benefit, fine. But let's just say a couple years down the road, now she's going, wow, I'm bored. I want to do some work. I want to do some part-time work, whether it be substitute teaching or whatever it may be. Beware. If you take your Social Security anytime prior to your full retirement age, you go through the earnings test. So for 2024, it's $22,320.
Yep, and that works out to $1,860 a month in 2024. And so what they are looking at is earned income, and it's not IRA distributions, pensions, those Social Security benefits you've already claimed.
Right, W-2 income.
It is that earned income.
Right.
And for every, $2 you earn over that amount we just listed, you give $1 back of your benefit through taxation. That money is not gone. It goes back through a calculation when you obtain full retirement age. It can get convoluted and
don't do it.
You get money back.
Just don't. Yeah.
It's best to stay away. Most of the time, if you're retired, be retired and earn under that earnings limit.
Real quick here, I want to stay on that for a second because people also you said the monthly figure, but the first year of retirement, so let's just say you worked from January to October, right? And October is when you retired. You had earned income up to that point. It doesn't matter. So if you started your Social Security the month after, they're not going to look at what happened in the past. They're going to be like, okay, what happened moving forward? They look at it monthly during the first year of retirement. So beware of that. But then after that, the second year, they look at it annually.
Annually, right. In your, substitute teacher or part-time work, if it's seasonal,
right.
It's not that you earned $2,500 in 1 month. It's going to, it's not going to exceed the annual amount as long as, other months are under that amount.
Right. So that's for people prior to full retirement age. Now let's move on to the year they turn full retirement age.
Yeah, so the year you obtain full retirement age, for those who are 66 or 67, that's easy to figure out. But for those who are 66 and 8 months.
Right.
So if your birthday is in October, you turn 66. 8 months later, you go into the next calendar year. So you would end up with, 6 months of that year that you get into an earnings amount of $59,520. And that is from, January 1st of that year until the month you hit full retirement age. You're able to earn up to $59,520. And then full retirement age and beyond, earnings go unlimited.
Right. You can make as much as you want. But the one thing you got to be careful of, and folks, I hope you picked on to what he just said, for people that have like a 66 and 8 months or whatever. So let's just say that, you turned in October, 66, but that 8 months, it led you into the following year. So you're still subject to that 22,000. Then after that, you move into the 59. So again, you got to be really careful of that because just little tweaks here and there can impact your plan.
Again, we mentioned it, if you happen to fall under that earnings test, it is recalculated, kind of added back to benefit when you hit full retirement age. But just depending on how long it takes you to get that money back, it's best to stay away from the earnings test if you have decided to claim Social Security.
Yeah, let's just stay out of it, right? So if you're going to take your benefit, just take your benefit and be done. Okay, and then you mentioned that once you attain full retirement age, you can make as much as you want. So for example, if somebody's, bumped into a coworker and they're going, well, how can they, the earnings test, how can they be taking their Social Security? Well, I'd venture to say they're past full retirement age. So again, I mean, for some people, they work because they want to, not because they have to, or, well, I guess, other way around, but just be careful of the earnings test when it comes to filing your Social Security. But it's a big one. It's a big one.
It is a big one. We also missed one big step prior to full retirement age.
You know what? It's probably the biggest one of them all. And so let's just go back to, let's go back to that couple, Tommy. So, where I mentioned we had a husband and wife. The husband's still working. The wife took her Social Security early. And I said, because of why? I said, because they need health insurance. They need health insurance. What age is Medicare?
Age 65.
Age 65, right? And so many times we bump into people that maybe have the financial means to retire, but we need health insurance. And if there's anything that seems to be keeping up with inflation, it's health insurance premiums. And so age 65, that is such a huge age with Medicare. So Tommy, why don't we first go through the original Medicare, then I'll go through the choices that people can make after that.
Original Medicare is your Part A, that's your hospital insurance. And then Part B is the medical insurance piece of it, doctor visits, those type of things. And you are eligible for that at age 65, unless you get on disability or anything prior to that. But most people are eligible at age 65, not required to start Part B if they are under coverage through a current employer if they're continuing to work, but are eligible, and that's a big milestone a lot of people are looking for, is that health insurance coverage.
And then one thing too is this, folks, if you're contributing to an HSA account after age 65, don't take Part A if you're making those contributions, because if you sign up for Medicare, all contributions must stop.
And
that's a big one.
It is a big one. And there can be up to a 6 month, if you're past 65, there can be up to a 6 month retroactive period on Part A. So you can get into, having to remove excess contributions or figuring out how much you're eligible on a prorated amount.
Right.
So that is a very important piece to remember with that HSA.
It is. And a lot of people think about the penalties and that sort of thing. What you just said is a good point, where you don't have to sign up for Part B yet, because again, if you are under your employer's plan, in Medicare's eyes, they look at that as credible coverage. It's credible coverage. So you won't be subject to a penalty if you wait to file for your Medicare Part B after you retire over 65. But again, Part A and B isn't enough. You need more. And so in terms of filling that gap, and so people have the option to do a Medigap plan, or what they know it as is a Medicare supplement. Or they can pick Part C, which is Medicare Advantage. And again, Tommy, people are very passionate when it comes to this, but we did a whole episode on this with Steve Burgett in terms of our Medicare expert. So let's not spend too much time on this. Make sure you tune into one of those episodes.
There's a lot of decisions involved, a lot of technicalities, what doctors you go to, what prescriptions you're on. It's really important to sit down, somebody who can take you through all the options and find the plan that best fits you.
Okay, we just talked about a lot here. Let's take a little break, give our viewers a breather, and then we'll move on to the next few milestones. So again, folks, make sure you stay with us right after the break. We are wrapping up retirement milestones. And so, Tommy, we just talked about everything prior to full retirement age. There's a lot of decisions people are going to have to make along the way. Now let's move on to after full retirement age. There's some pretty cool things you get, especially with Social Security.
Yeah, so prior to full retirement age, you had the age-based reduction, working up to 100% of your benefit at full retirement age. From that point to age 70, you get the delayed retirement credits, and that is an 8% credit per year that you delay from full retirement age to age 70.
That's a great credit.
That's a pretty good guaranteed rate.
That's a guaranteed rate. But what's the downside to get it?
You're waiting.
You gotta wait. You gotta wait because here's the thing. I mean, it doesn't make sense for everybody because, I think a lot of people can attest to this or they've heard of a story before where maybe, somebody retired and maybe a year later, they passed away.
It unfortunately happens.
It does happen. It is what it is, but
it's a very real consideration because when you're looking at Social Security break-evens between early and full retirement age and late, you typically get out to your late 70s, early 80s.
Yep.
Nobody knows what's going to happen from now until that point. But it's really important to sit down and just evaluate, especially if you're married and there is a spouse there, not just where you're at today and what Social Security looks like today, but where you're going in the future.
Right. I mean, one thing that I'm a fan of, because, I'm glad you mentioned the break-even point, because that's usually between ages 79 and 81. I mean, that's usually the break-even point. What I'm a fan of, and again, it doesn't fit everybody, is where maybe one spouse takes their Social Security as soon as possible and the other one potentially delay. Because of that, that fear factor in terms of, what if something does happen to me? Because, Tommy, when we lose a spouse, the lower benefit goes away. I mean, and so again, I'm not saying everybody should delay, but, if I'm encouraging somebody to do it, in my opinion, I better have a darn good reason why.
Yeah, it is. And it's very important. We mentioned plan, we mentioned retirement, just all the decisions, but it's very important that you sit down and consider, all the decisions you're going to have to make, the different planning steps, what retirement looks like now, what it looks like in 5 years, what it hopefully looks like in 20 years, and make the best decision based on the information you have available.
Right. And just real quickly of reasons why we may want to delay. The first one is it can help take stress off of that 401k. Because unfortunately, the pension days are basically over. Unless you're a federal employee or you receive IPERS, hallelujah. Good. You get a pension. But a lot of people, they don't. They have their Social Security, right? Their retirement paycheck coming in, and then they also have their 401k. The question is how do they mold together? So the 3 reasons is number 1, stress. It helps take stress off of their 401k, meaning that if one spouse potentially delays, because now we have a higher Social Security benefit to help take stress off of that asset. The second is survivor benefits. We talked about age 60, right? Because when we lose a spouse, the lower benefit goes away. And the third one, and I love this one, is taxes. You get a wonderful tax preference with your Social Security, unlike the taxation of a 401k IRA.
It's very important. Social Security gets its own section on the tax return, and it allows you a lot more flexibility. We'll talk about why we're fans of Roth, reviewing Roth conversions, but being able to blend those traditional or fully taxable distributions with potentially Roth or tax-free distributions, you get a lot more flexibility and control of your own tax situation with the Social Security benefit.
Well, before we move into that, let's talk about the last milestone, and that's age 70. So if we ever bump into somebody and you have not taken your Social Security yet, and you're over 70 years old, what are we going to do, Tommy?
We're going today.
We're going to the administration because you're missing out. Your 8% delayed retirement credit stops growing after 70. So make sure you take your benefit by then. Okay, let's get to the final milestone. We made it. The required minimum distributions. Tommy, this has changed because a lot of people, it used to be 70 and a half prior to age 2020. What I'd like you to do is walk through how it's been increased throughout the last few years.
Yeah, real quickly, the RMD age, 73, going to 75 here shortly. But there's been significant changes to that. Required minimum distributions are from the traditional 401k or traditional IRA, the pre-tax portion that you took a tax deduction growing in. It's grown for however many years you've had it. And so they say at a certain age, you have to take it. So prior to 2020, that age was 70 and a half.
Right.
They passed the original Secure Act and moved it to age 72. And then they added Secure Act 2.0. and have, you know, as of now, the age is 73, going to 75 in 2023. So the tax code has said, you know, you've had that deduction, it's grown. At a certain age, you got to start taking amount out. They need the tax revenue off of it. And so those, if you're ballparking those numbers, it typically starts a little bit under 4% and then grows. The percentage required to take grows annually after that.
That's right. That's right. And now the kicker here is you and I are big fans of Roth conversions. And so just know this, when we attain age, your RMD age, because everybody's is different, you cannot convert that money to a Roth. I mean, I want to be clear on that. So there's only so many things you can do. You spend it, you can gift it, which is a big deal, or you reinvest it. And so there are things that you can do, but we try to catch people prior to the RMD age, because we want to know when our tax is on sale for you during your retirement process.
I mentioned the kind of ballpark in the RMD percentages. So if you are sitting there thinking, you know, I'm not taking that much out of my assets, I don't think I need that 4% amount as a withdrawal rate off of my assets, it really is important. There's a lot of planning opportunities, typically between retirement, you know, Social Security claiming and going to that RMD age where you can review for those Roth conversions and see if it makes sense.
And Tommy, that is why we're doing this show. I mean, this is such a great episode, walking people through all these decisions they have to make during the retirement journey. It was a good episode.
It's been a lot of fun. You know, everybody's looking at that, you know, the excitement of retirement. But first, let's take a step back. Let's go through some, let's go through some of these not as exciting steps, you know, and then we can enjoy that retirement.
That's right. We want you to have a good retirement. And again, that's why we're doing this show. I mean, we are on every weekend helping you get retirement ready. We'll catch you next weekend right here on Retire Vivid.
Cameron McCarty and Tommy Breitbach are investment advisor representatives of Vivid Wealth Management, a SEC-registered investment advisor located in Des Moines, Iowa. Investment advisory services are offered through Vivid Wealth Management, LLC. Insurance products and services are offered through Vivid Tax and Wealth Advisors, and individually licensed and appointed agents. Tax planning and preparation services are offered through Vivid Tax Center, LLC. The preceding entities are affiliated. Information presented is for educational purposes only and does not intend to make an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any specific securities, investments, or investment strategies. Case studies and examples presented are hypothetical and used to demonstrate a concept. These studies do not represent actual clients or results. Similar or even positive results cannot be guaranteed. None of the entities above are affiliated or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any government agency. Information expressed does not take into account your specific situation or objectives and is not intended to provide investment, tax, or legal advice. Listeners are encouraged to seek advice from a qualified tax, legal, or investment advisor to determine whether any information presented may be suitable for their specific situation. Past performance is not indicative of future performance. Investments involve risk and, unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed.